Okay, team, fine. I think in the interest of time, let's begin the session. So let me start with my brief introduction. My name is Virendra Chaurasia, and I'm working as an enterprise architect based out of India. I've added my coordinates left in the left corner of this slide, wherein my email address as well as my contact number is mentioned. So in case if anyone wants to get in touch with me for any clarification or any information that is related to Veeam and Cache, feel free to do that. Uh, while we begin the session, I have just added, some questions as to understand, what is the interest area of the crowd that have joined us today for this webinar. So if you guys could log in or scan this image, which is displayed on your screen, which will just begin a small poll that will have some questions related to Kasten and your understanding about K10. So let me see how many of you can answer this. So there is a poll that is displayed if you scan that. Uh, you know, so what I'll do, I'll also paste it in a chat box the link that for whomsoever who is joining a little late, they can uh, you know go to this link and join us for Slido question polls. Yeah, so I see one response. So we'll give time for others to answer it. Let me again paste that link for the newcomers on this webinar. Go to this link, which is there in the chat. If you want to again go to this, you can scan this Slido QR code. It will land you to a Slido page wherein we are taking your poll as to your expectation from this session. So this is what the poll looks like. So I only see 3 people responded as yet, and we have total 44 attendees by now. So let's wait for it to respond. So 4 have responded, and this is how the result says. So I'll hide the result for now, and let's wait for others to respond. Maybe another 30 seconds, and then I'll move on to the second question. So guys, again, whoever is not able to scan that QR code can log into this link that is pasted in the chat box, and take participation in this active poll. So okay, fine. So we have till now 5 people taking participation in this poll, which talks about, and all of them say that they have never heard of it before this webinar. Okay, so we take that, and one person says that I have attended a presentation on K10, so which is good. That means I will have to mold my you know uh, presentation pitch accordingly, and that gives us an opportunity for posting a second question. So this is what the second question talks about. So if you guys could submit your poll on this question. Let's take another 30 seconds to allow others to submit their polls, and then I think we will have third question, and within couple of minutes we'll be able to start the presentation. So I see more people joining on the webinar, so I will paste the link there, or I'll just move to this slide here. You can scan this QR code to join us for active poll that we are doing for understanding of the basic expectation from this webinar, and this is where we see results. So 8 people have responded by now. So let's keep this question on for another 10 seconds, and then we'll see the result. So this is just questioning. I mean, this is just to gauge whether you have a data protection projects in pipeline, or you know how are you working on Kubernetes side? So I think let me just end this poll. Five, four, three, two, one. And let's see the result. Yeah, so it is like 50-50. So out of 13 people, half of them are working on projects which is on the Kubernetes platform, and the rest are planning to have one more in coming year. And this is third one. Okay, have anyone ever been infected by ransomware? I mean, if you don't wish to answer, you can select don't know or not sure. But yeah, so let's give another 10 seconds. Fine. So let's see the result. No. So most of the people have never faced, or any infection by any of the ransom or the bad attackers. But same time, we see 30%, 38% people, which is like, oh wow. So around around 8 to 9 people who have faced this kind of infection. So this was just to understand from you as to what are you expecting from this session. So let me go back to my presentation. Okay, so guys, I'll reintroduce myself because most of you have recently joined. So my name is Virendra Chaurasia. I'm enterprise architect based out of India. My focus is to help all our enterprise customers, part of BFSI vertical and other enterprise verticals, to help them articulate their solution towards cloud data management. And my coordinates are mentioned out here. So let's begin for today, and let's have a look at agenda, how it looks like. Okay, so what we are gonna do is we will talk about maybe a refresher slides about what Cashtin is, and then we'll move on to the section wherein we'll discuss about why is there need for immutable backups, and when there is a need for immutable backups, how Cashtin can help you. Leveraging our Katin product can help you uh, ensure that the backup that you are taking is stored in immutable target. And then I have a demo wherein we will try to showcase it to you how a demo wherein will emulate an attack which will go and corrupt the data, and then will restore it back to a normal state. And then we'll talk about the resources, right? So let's begin. Let me touch base upon Cashten. So Cashten is a company name that was running as a separate company. Almost 2.5 years back, Veeam acquired Cashten, and now Cashten is part of Veeam, and that's where the right corner, if you say, the logo talks about Cashten by Veeam. So Cashten is a product which is a very point solution towards the vast Kubernetes distribution protection, right? So we have multi distribution Kubernetes available in market today, and that is a space wherein data protection is pretty challenging, and Cashden addresses that space very well. um, and what is our mission? If you see, our mission is to help our customers tackle day-to-day data management challenge. It could be cloud data management challenge, or it could be on premises. So be it physical, virtual, or cloud native, or maybe a cloud. Okay, uh, we help you manage that data by our three core capabilities. The core capabilities here, the first and foremost is backup and restore. That is our focus area, wherein we help you. Uh, One second. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We help you uh, protect your backup copies, right from production to backup to DR. So our focus is really going to be on our core capabilities. of backup and recovery. That is the first capability we talk about. That means we would create a copy of data from A, that is your data center, to B, and then replicate that to DR location for for any recovery point of view. And uh, and we do this adhering to our 3-to-1 policy, or we call it 3-to-1 rule, right? That means uh, three copies of data on two different type of media, and one of them being offsite. So today we are particularly going to talk about Kubernetes managed workload, and then how Kubernetes helps you protect uh, that particular, let's say I would call it island of IT, right? And obviously when it comes to Veeam, we have many products to address cloud data management for wider range of environment and the wider IT landscape. But backup and recovery is our primary focus area as to how can we how can we able to help you build most efficient and reliable uh, platform for cloud data management when it comes to recover data from you know natural disasters, or maybe data outages that is caused due to the component failure or application failures, right? Or at times today the new trend is called cyber disaster, right? So that's where the primary focus is. The second one is application mobility. So this is really a very good function or capability that we offer to our customer, wherein I believe this will be gaining more traction going forward, because as we see the adoption of Kubernetes platform more and more, right? This application mobility helps customer to move application not from one distribution to another distribution. It also helps customers to move from one hyperscaler to another hyperscaler. We'll talk about it in upcoming slide. And the third one is DR. It is equally important to focus on how can we reduce overall RTO. RTO is recovery time objective. So in case if there's any disaster, how can you reduce your recovery time object? Okay, so how can you enable your business to be available uh, in less time? And that is not just about automating your disaster recovery. It is also about ensuring that your business continuity is in line. Uh, and that is what this slide talks about. So here if you see, what we are talking about is the use cases towards these three core capabilities. So this slide takes us a bit deeper in our three core capabilities and their use cases, right? So if you observe here, uh, the first core capability we spoke of is once yeah so first core capability we spoke of is backup and restore. So the use case there, if you see, you have environments wherein you may need it for multi-tenanted environment, wherein you have different uh, IT setups that needs to be protected using single console, but it should give you capability of doing multi-tenanted protection for multi-environment, right? So the use case of multi-tenancy, and when you have multi-tenanted environment, the role-based access control is pretty critical, and that's where the capability or the functionality of role-based access control ensures that the least privileges and the highest privileges are controlled and given accordingly to ensure that there are no anomalies in the environment, right? And when we talk about you know helping customers to build platform for multi-tenanted environment using RBAC control, we are also providing a functionality under the backup and restore capability, wherein if there's a need for business to scale tomorrow, being agile in terms of able to scale business in multifold, the setup or the architecture that is deployed should be scalable. And while it is scalable, it should also offer you performance that is expected out of this scalability, right? And the foremost feature that we uh, talk about is polyglot persistence, right? So if you see the world of Kubernetes, here people are not using legacy databases of like one databases that addresses multi applications. So we are using multiple databases, maybe something for cryptocurrency, some other database for doing e-commerce entries, or so on, right? So that is what polyglot persistent means. I mean, leveraging multiple options, right? So when you actually do that, you need to have a tool that can give you a functionality to be compatible with all these options that our customers choose. um, the use case on disaster recovery side, if you see, be it your cross availability zone, doesn't matter whether it is on premises or off premises, be it cross region. So we help you provide disaster recovery capability across the availability zone, across the regions, be it your private cloud, be it public cloud, or be it multi-cloud architecture. And even if you have a model wherein you are working on a hybrid cloud, all that is supported. And these are the predominant use case uh, when it comes to our core capability of disaster recovery, right? And we are talking about storage transformation under disaster recovery capability, which is really a key functionality that a tool should have. Because if you're moving a workload, because we're talking about moving a workload from uh, you know uh, availability zone A to availability zone B, that means the storage class that you're using in the production environment, or maybe in zone A, uh, not necessarily zone B will have same storage class, right? So for example, let me give you an example from Kubernetes on let's say Tanzu version to the OpenShift, right? So Tanzu uses a different storage class and OpenShift uses a different storage class. And if you are shifting between Tanzu to OpenShift, while we enable you to port that, okay, we also have a transformation engine that helps you transform the storage class from source to the target storage class. That is what storage transformation means. And the third one, which is very important as far as application mobility is concerned, the use cases, predominant use cases are maybe merger of two or more companies, maybe the application update upgrades, or refactoring of application, or maybe leveraging multi-cloud platforms, right? Or putting it on hyperscalers for that name. Okay, so which means that when you are actually moving an application from one distribution to another distribution, we leverage similar transformation engine that Caston have built for K10. And that transformation engine ensures that the application which was running on Tanzu can be again ported onto OpenShift, and it runs without any issue, right? So this was just to touch base upon the capability of Caston overall, and what Veeam offers. Let's understand that what we have you know in the space of immutability, right? So first of all, before we go to immutability demo and things, let's understand why why there's a need for immutability back or immutable backups, right? And when we say immutable backups, that means the storage that you're keeping your backup, or maybe let's say target storage or target repository where you're storing backup, should be immutable. So in case if any bad actor who is trying to come and you know push you towards compromising your data, your last resort, um, or let's say last line of defense, helps you bring that data back to production and continue your business. So let's understand why there's a need for immutable backup, right? So these are five uh, high level categories that we have defined, but we have laundry list of reasons for immutable backup. So these are five categories that we have categorized. Maybe the first one is accidental deletion, right? So there are multiple reasons of accidental deletion. Could be intentional, unintentional, and human error, that can cause accidental deletion, right? So that is one area due to which or that is one concern due to which immutable backup is very important, right? The another one is policy gap. So the enterprises today, if you see, they have large team, a very vast team to manage their IT operations, development, and security and networks, right? So when you have multiple team, there is confusion of you know, as to which policy should be applied or what should be the policy, you know, framework, right? So because of that confusion, at times we see there are a lot of misconfiguration that, you know, poses the challenge for immutable backup. So let me correlate these to backup, right? So let's say if you have configured a backup policy which says that data should retire after 2 years, okay, but you know, data retires before that, just because somebody have misunderstood due to confusion and have gone ahead and changed the policy and changed the retention flag from 2 years to maybe 2 months, right? So these are the scenarios wherein, you know, immutable backup is very important. The internal security threats, when we talk about this, is like, again I said, you know, we have laundry list of reasons for that. But yeah, this could be internal intruders who are actually passing on some confidential information back to, you know, market, or maybe uh, the bad actors, right? And then of course the predominant one is the external security threats, like, you know, malwares and ransoms and so on. And the most stringent one is the legal and compliance, wherein we have to comply to the governance and regulatories, wherein, you know, it says that the data that is protected should not be infected, should be highly reliable, and should be in a way to be presented back to, you know, the requester, or it could be a consumer, it could be a legal body, or the government, right? So these are the reasons which actually, you know, driving the need for immutable backup. And let's understand in detail about what kind of, you know, uh, reasons it and or sub reasons that posts, right? So this is one of the example of a ransomware. What is ransomware, right? I mean, just a high level picture. I mean, ransomware is not as easy as it is seen on this slide, but I'm just trying to give you an analogy. Like, it's just a tiny piece of software, malicious software, that, you know, that comes in your environment, gets you know, executed on one of your machine. Either it restricts you to access that entire machine, or it restricts you to access a particular file that is important, right? So these are 5 bullet points that we have tried to describe, wherein it just, you know, tries to give you an understanding of what it does. So it sits in your environment, you know, it spreads across the environment. It tries observing data behavior, the importance of data, and then, you know, then they go and apply their encryption key on that data which they find as important, and then they ask you, assuming that, you know, that data is important for you, and then they ask you to pay money for that, right? So this is what a ransomware on a higher level does. And if you want to see an example of that, this is where we are talking about, right? So Hildgard is actually, you know, was a malware. It is actually a malware. It was pretty new when actually it started getting active in early 2021. Okay, what it does actually, it was meant for targeting Kubernetes clusters. Okay, so what it does, it goes, sits in Kubernetes cluster, uh, tries to, you know, tries to mute your cryptocurrency based databases. So this was designed towards cryptocurrency, but that doesn't stop it to go and spread across the other, you know, part of your IT landscape, right? So this is still active, and this is one of the example wherein what it does, it goes and deploys a small malicious code onto your Docker daemon, or maybe any runtime that you run on that. And then from there it, you know, spreads across, and the flow is given in the diagram there, right? So it goes, gets installed, and gives some call to, you know, each cluster, tries to grab some information, note that down, then, you know, apply some mining capability on that, and then, you know, then target the file or the data that needs to be uh, targeted, so that, you know, a person who is compromising his data end up paying them the hefty amount of penalty, right? So this is malware. So when this happens, this never happens, uh, at times it happens right from the external threat, or at times it happens due to internal access control as well, right? So if you see, the next slide talks about, you know uh, how they gain access. At times they gain access through the internal threats, or sometimes you have left some vulnerabilities open through which they enter in, and then they try to capture your data, and then they find out which is the most important database or file or IP that they want to target. Okay, so it is not actually easy. Okay, ransomware is hard. So it is tough to go and find out an entry point, keep scanning your IPs or ports or other areas wherein companies have already defined their frontline defense, midline defense, and last line defense. But it's not easy, and that's where you see, these days. No, I'm not talking about dark web, but these days there are some portals wherein you see a lot of information to get in a particular company, which is available in less than 300 to $10,000, right? So 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 people are also leveraging that, and this has been done by internal threats, right? So insider who is not happy, or maybe want to make more money quickly, they they put this information of vulnerable ports and vulnerable designs up there on the website, and they sell it. Okay, so this is also one of the concern area that is really putting challenge towards immutable backup, or actually driving the need for immutable backup. And then coming back to accidental deletion, so if you observe a code 18, so what I have done here, so for me, the distance between your screen and you is 18 inches, right? And that's the code 18, and that's the accidental deletion, right? So maybe accidental or intentional deletion, that's what we are talking about. So human errors is one of the major reasons. So if you see, one of the survey was talking about that 80% of outages people have observed due to human error. Okay, and that just happened because either it was intentional or non-intentional. So one of the example, if you see the left corner, the screenshot, wherein somebody drops the entire namespace, okay, accidentally. Okay, it is just passing a command called kubectl delete minus namespace and provide that namespace, and that namespace is gone. You will not be able to restore it if you don't have any backup policy in place, right? So when such things happen, you need to be prepared, and you need to be prepared so that you go back to your business saying that don't worry, we have a protected copy which is not infected. So typically, the behavior of ransom guys, okay, I would categorize them as, let's say, bad actor and good actors. Okay, so the bad actors are the ones who are actually trying to come into your network, sit in there your environment for a month or two or beyond, keep reading the environment, keep finding the secrets of your particular application access controls and so on, and then they create a chart to attack the files and databases, and they do that. And then we have good actors like our IT security guys who are actually trying to protect them and restrict them. But in between of them, we have internal threats as well, who are actually either by mistaken clicking on some phishing emails and opening up a port for ransom guy to enter, or doing some intentional expose of vulnerabilities back to the open market, right? So this is where we see the need for immutable backup. And be it whichever scenario, however secure you have built your setup, at times we see that at times we believe that we are pretty secure and we have built a very robust uh, setup or security layers. But suddenly we realize that we have seen an attack which have actually broken out our first line defense, reached out to our midline defense, and then reached out to our last line defense as well, wherein it has deleted the backup copies as well. And why do they do that? They just do that because, let's say if they demand money from you, and you have a robust backup copy, you will always say, boss, okay, fine, that thank you for calling, but don't worry, I have already my copy saved, right? So any situation, you should be prepared, and when you are actually taking a backup copies, it should be helping you to protect it from ransoms and malwares as well. So just putting that perspective in the in a slide here, uh, the preparedness for such kind of behavior or such kind of an incident is, I mean, I would say precaution is better than cure, right? I'll put it that way. So how do you do that? So the best practice says that, you be safe, then be sorry, right? So the updates that needs to be applied has to be applied in time. Ensure that the tools, the Kubernetes version, the third party tools that we use on our platform should be updated time and again. We should do routine audit and security audits to ensure that we are not leaving any vulnerable ports open for any of our bad actors to come in and do any bad activities in our environment. Keep educating our users, our internal assets, about not to open spam and fishy emails, to allow some vulnerable entries to these bad actors. And the most is, keep taking backup on immutable storage, and backup and backup and backup, right? So when we say backup, is because if you have heard of this tip I was talking about initially, right? During the introduction, that we help you follow or adhere to 3-2-1 rule, that is industry wide, let's say a bible for backup platforms, which means three copies of data. So you have production copy, you create a backup copy, and then you create another copy. So three copies of data is important. After these three copies, typically this should not be stored in similar media, so it should be stored across two medias. Okay, and the one stands for one of that setup should be offsite, so that even if you create a bubble, for an example of, let's say we have faced the global pandemic, right? And we were creating bubbles for infected people and non-infected peoples, right? So that's where the offline copy helps you, which is in a safe bubble, always away from your production environment. So even if you compromise your first copy and second copy, which if it was not stored onto mutable storage, the ransom guy can go and delete that. But if you have a offset copy, that helps you recover it back from the offset copy. So this is one of the tip. So let's get on to understanding why ransomware protection is important. So we understood that need for ransomware is there due to a lot of factors, maybe accidental deletion, internal threats, external threats, the confusion between multiple team, and misconfiguration leads to the requirement for recovery, and then the regulations and governance and regulations, right? Okay. So when we talk, so people are today have a misconception about containers. So people have a conception about or understanding about containers, that when you move on to a container platform, it is not vulnerable. But that's not true, because vulnerability comes at each stage of IT landscape, right? I mean, uh, if you are doing over provisioning, if you are keeping some room for memory and processor, right? So there are malwares which are leveraging CPU cycles to attack. There are malwares who are using memory to go and leak memory and then attack, right? So if you do over provisioning during install operations, or you do maybe while granting privileges, okay, so least privileges, the medium privileges, or the highest privileges, if you do not give a right consideration, it becomes vulnerable. Okay. The other reason could be the updates, like I said, right? The preparedness. So if you don't update the third party tools or the Kubernetes releases that it should be updated, so that also imposes you towards exposing you for, I mean, it exposes your environment by some vulnerabilities in some of the areas wherein these ransom guys uh, get in, right? And even backup and recovery gaps, when we say that we have not defined right policies, we have not defined right repository configurations, and we are allowing or the platform that we have set up is allowing a ransom guy to come and delete your backup copies as well, then the environment becomes vulnerable, right? And just to touch base upon the summary, I hope the screen is visible. I mean, it is in line. So if this we have already spoken of. This is just a summary slide wherein it concludes the need for immutability. Right? There are many reasons the immutability is important. The repository needs to be immutable so that all of these incidents or the intentional incidents or human errors or maybe external threats you know help you protect your data. So be it malicious actors who are trying to come and attack your data and then threaten you by either challenging your brand value or threatening you either challenging your you know uh, the accounts database and so on, right? So moving on, how how this can be protected when we have so many challenges coming from inside outside and also through some vulnerable patches. How can we protect this environment? And let's understand how Cash10's K10 product can help you protect this environment. Okay, so just to keep you in simple slide, our approach is very unique. What we do, we actually convert your repository in uh, immutable storage so that the backup that is written there becomes immutable even if you have attack on front end side, and that the bad actor is getting into your backup environment and deleting your bucket, still you will be able to restore that. The simplicity, the user interface is simplified so that it doesn't add any confusion and complication that drives towards misconfigurations and so on. And again, that is simplified by policy based automations, right? Wherein we allow you to define different policies, include forward facing retention, long term retention, or maybe retention across multiple repositories, maybe on prem to off prem, and ensuring that the lifecycle management is in place, uh, and also the immutability is in place, right? And when we do that, we also provide you freedom of choice. When I say freedom of choice, there is no uh, hard binding or bounding to any specific hardware provider or any specific storage provider or any specific object storage provider, right? So that freedom of choice gives you flexibility to take your own call to decide where your data should reside, and whoever is the best you want to use based of the breed from the industry to design your solution. Veeam and Cash10 by Veeam provides you that flexibility to take your own call, take choose it from your own opinions, and there's no hard bounding. And this is how it looks like when I say freedom of choice, right? So we help you avoid your fragmentation and enable you to deploy flexible setup. So let's say this is one of the example. The diagram that you see here is an example wherein you have a Veeam repository which is protecting your virtual machines, and you also have a S3 repository. So let me use mouse cursor here to guide you. So these are the object or NFS based storage that can help Cache to write, or Cache can also write back to your VBR repository, which is hardened and immutable, right? So even if you are using this kind of setup wherein you want to harden your repository and protect it from the external threats, you can do that. External or internal threats, you can do that. Or else if you want to use leverage object based storage or NFS based storage from hyperscalers or maybe on premises, you will be able to do that. So what we try to do here is multi-layer consistency is provided, or you can have mixed environment as well, wherein some data is coming here and then going back to using lifecycle management, going back to a lower cost storage, and so on. So what we do typically, we actually convert this repository into worm capable repository. So when we say worm capable repository, sorry, repository means it is write once, read many. So if you have written once in this repository, you can read many times, but you cannot write again. So when we talk about deletion, deletion is also a write activity which goes and instructs your block to convert it from ones to zeros, right? So that is an write activity, and when you have warm storage you cannot go and do that until the retention flag is there, right? So what we do, we convert our storage into warm capable storage. And this is one of the synopsis or maybe a screenshot how we do. So this is the right side is a screenshot of uh, the immutable backup policies that we allow you to create. What it does, it goes back end. So we'll talk about that in demo that I'm going to showcase it to you. So 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 you just determine what is the need for immutable backup or requirements. The actual very base requirement is that when you are using object storage, if that object storage supports object log, we will help you make that repository as immutable repository. That's the basic requirement that we determine, right? So you can put your buckets configuration to cross regions and so on, and you can restore it from there. Okay. And when we talk about object log, see, in the industry wide there are only two modes of object log that is defined, right? Either you can enable governance or you can enable compliance. So what is the difference between these two? So governance allows you to rewrite or overwrite the files, whereas compliance even do not allow you to overwrite a file. So once you have written on a file, you will not be able to even overwrite that, right? So these are the two modes that is today available on object log. Okay. And this is how it goes into a use case, right? So f- requirements like governments and legal, wherein at times data needs to be overwritten, so you can select that as a object log mode for retention. Or you can use compliance mode, which do not allow you to do any changes till the time you have set it up for retention, right? And I think time is to go into demo. Let me, I mean, I have done enough talking, I hope. um, okay, guys are there with me. So let's talk about getting or let me walk you through how it looks like when we talk about creating an object storage with object log and making it immutable in your backup policy. So here is the screen you see, right? And okay, so if you see, what we are gonna do here is that this is how our screen looks like. So people who are familiar with Cache 10, Cache 10's K10 product, this is how our product, screen looks like. Wherein what we are gonna do, we are gonna go to settings, define a new location. When I say location, is actually our target repository profile, in where we are going to select some S3 profile or S3 based storage. So here we are saying we are going to use Amazon based S3, and we are providing access key and the secret key. And the region that we have selected is London, and we have provided the bucket name. So this is where I'm actually trying to set my target repository, right? So in a setup, I will only be able to create backup profile or a backup job when I have a target created, and this is a tick mark wherein we can do immutable. Okay, so before we go there, let me go yeah, so here we are actually, so what we are doing, the bucket is going to be in S3, which is Amazon S3. So this is console of Amazon S3, which talks about the bucket resides in London. Okay, this bucket is enabled for object log. And if you go further down, okay, we can edit the, or we can set up the object log configuration. Here we see that we have enabled object log, the default retention is enabled, and what we are using is compliance, which is never override. Okay, and then the default policy is 21 days. If you want to change that, we can go to edit and change that, and this can be changed easily, right? So now let's go back to our backup policy and enable it. So when I enable it from the K10 window, I have a button wherein I can validate this by querying to the object store. It talks about, it gives me a confirmation that bucket exists. the region found, it is bucket is found in the region that you have defined in the policy. uh, the object lock is enabled on that. The default retention configuration is applied, and the retention mode that is enabled for this bucket is compliance mode. That means the data that is going to be written will not be overwritten again, right? And then you go and save the policy, right? So once you save this policy, you see the message comes that policy is saved. Now we go back to dashboard, uh, and we go back to policies. We create a new policy here, and this is where you can define name, select a policy hourly that you want to create a policy. This is where you say that export my snapshot to backup, and this is the backup target that we see. So the target here shows you that it is immutable, right? So this is what we have done. So if I have to recap what we have done just in this demo is we have gone to cache setting. We have created a location profile wherein we have added where my repository should be, the target repository. So what we have done, we have added Amazon S3 target repository. We went back and validated that from Amazon's portal, that the bucket that is created on Amazon is object lock enabled and with compliance mode. And once that bucket is configured in my target policy profile, I came to a dashboard and I created a backup policy wherein I said, create snapshot and target it to this particular repository. So now this is how we have done. So this is one part of the demo wherein we have just added a repository and enabled the object log. Okay, and we have enabled also the retention mode of compliance. Now let's understand going forward what happens when attacks takes place. So second phase wherein I'll walk you through step by step procedure wherein we have a database and attacks takes place, and that just happens, right? And we restore it back, and nothing that we lose. So this is what our setup is. Our the second phase of it, I mean the first phase we are done, the demo. The second phase what I'm going to walk you through in our demo is, we have an app which is running on a Kubernetes cluster, and it has a persistent volume claim that contains SQL Server. And then we have been backing it up on S3, the S3 that we have defined. So same bucket and the same policy that we just defined in the previous demo. Okay, and the lock is enabled. And what we will do actually now in the second phase, we'll go attack a particular cluster. We'll also use some IAM role to go and modify S3 buckets. So S3 credentials can be, once I'm in the environment, I can like I said, I'm just saying I am here. I mean, let's say I'm just wearing a hoodie and a black cap and acting as a ransom guy now, because I have to demonstrate that to you, right? So that is where I'm using this term as I am, right? So I'm actually sitting in an environment, and I can use Amazon's identity and access management policies to delete that bucket, and then showcase it to you that uh, how we can recover it from there. So let me walk you through the second part of it. This is where we see, this is our dashboard. You see some successful jobs are done, and this is where we see our namespaces, right? So now what I'm going to show you, that I'm going to run a command which says that I have an application, and this application I have a database that has so many entries in database about my financial details, right? So now let me go back to the dashboard to show you that there is a bucket where it is getting written, right? So K10 is the bucket where I'm putting my database. So what I'll do now, I'll actually use a script that will attack my database first. So I'm attacking a DB. There is already a shell script built. Now you see the database is corrupted. I have encrypted it. Users can't see value from that database now. And what I'm doing, I'm also using a script which will, have an access to IAM role, and that has deleted the bucket, right? So I have corrupted your database, deleted the bucket. That is what a ransom guy typically does. But when you see Cashton, here is where you see that I still have policies or the retention points available. I have selected one of the retention policy and said restore. Now if you see, it will start the restore job. Okay, I'm gonna just run a command here, kubectl get pods application name, okay, because I have started restore process, right? So it will start bringing up my cluster one by one, and if I go back to dashboard, you will see the progress in the restore, that it is begun the restore of application. It is going to take more than 4 to 5 minutes, okay. So this is how we have begun the restore. So we'll wait till the restore takes place, and we'll try to again re-execute the command to see whether database have been restored or not. So what we have actually tried to show you here is that even if a ransom guy gets into your environment, uh, compromises your, or let's say infects your database, and then tries to delete your backup bucket, right? Even then, if it was backed up using object lock repository, the restore points he cannot delete because those are warm enabled restore points, and from one of those restore points which was actually residing in that bucket, but those cannot be impacted because of the immutability enabled. I could restore it from one of the restore points that was available, and the restore is gonna take place, right? So if you see here, keep observing on the screen here, the restore is going to take place. It is trying to restore the application components, okay, and in backend it does go back to a lot of daemons that is in the deep architecture of Arcasian. Once you go through Kten deep architectural training, you will get to see that it goes, clicks multiple trigger points and tries to get you the entire cluster up. So if we go, I think going forward, I'll go to the command. One second, it's taking time. Meanwhile, let me have a look whether we have any. Okay, yeah, fine. So it is still taking time. Like I said, it is gonna take 3 to 4 minutes to complete this. Uh, so we should wait for that. So this is how the observation is. I think yeah, it just got stuck. Yeah, so if I go back to command and I see the cluster is coming up, right, slowly. So so what it does, it creates a namespace, it mounts that particular uh, persistent volume, and then tries to restore. So the namespace was coming up here. If you see, yeah, let- here if you see, the namespace is coming up. We have just said clear. And now if I go and see, check my application status, my database comes back intact the way it was, okay. So though the backup was corrupted, sorry, backup bucket was deleted, the original database was corrupted, but we could still restore it from the restore point that was protected in immutable backup, right? So let me go back to the presentation. Yeah. So that's it, guys. I mean, this is what we have showcased. I mean, I'll just walk you through the resources that we have. So these are the resources. If you want to scan, you can go to learning.caston.io. You can get yourself associated to the badges that you will earn after this learning and certifications. You also can go to Caston demo for free trial version of testing and so on. So these are the QR codes of this uh, resources that are available on this location. So if you want to scan these QR codes, or the recordings of this session as well as this presentation will be shared with all the attendees over an email post this you know say webinar. And will be also sharing, don't just log out once I end up session. There will be a next screen coming up with a survey. We request you to feel free to please give your honest feedback in that survey, and give us a chance to again improve as to how we come back to you to help you protect it from the bad actors, right? So And this is one of the slide where, this is one of the event that is taking place in Miami. This is our flagship event that happens every year. We call it Veeam. So this time it is taking place in Miami, and this is how you can register. So this event includes more than 40 sessions, and we have all industries classical or industries leaders that present this. So the speakers are global leaders that they come and present, and then typically we see more than 15,000 of our customers or partners. They come and attend this session, right? And they come across the globe. They come from more than 150 countries. So you can save this. I mean, the presentation is gonna be shared with you, which will have this registration link available. So if you wish us to join on this conference, feel free to join us in May. We'll be more than happy to see you there, and that opens up the section for question answer. But I only see one question from Anthony. It says no audio. Is there any question? If you have any question, you can put that in question session of this webinar tool. Um, we'll try to address it. Sonia, do you see any questions here apart from one?
Let me check. No, there are no questions.
Yeah, there are no questions. So, team, I'm not sure. I mean, no question means what? Have you understood, or have I made you confused? No worries, team. I mean, it was good to see more than 78 people joining this session initially, and um, you know, thanks for all your time and patience that you have showcased. And with
So,
that,
there's one question, Sashi. Can you type your question on the question bar? I don't see your question.
Acha, you put a question in Slido, or is it? Let me see.
Oh, the question is, there is another question which says, is this solution available for on-prem?
Yes, this solution is available for on-prem Kubernetes flavors as well. So if you are running uh, Docker Kubernetes runtime, or you're running any of the proprietary ones like OpenShift, Tanzu, on premises, all is available. The beauty is that it will also help you move seamlessly from one distribution to another distribution. When we spoke of our core capabilities of application mobility, right? So this helps you move from one distribution to another distribution. So be it a distribution of similar provider, or be it a distribution which is from a dissimilar provider, okay, or dissimilar distribution. So for example, you can port your namespaces from Tanzu to OpenShift to Docker, or vice versa, right? So that is the flexibility it provides. So on-prem, yes, it is very much available. It also helps you port your namespaces tomorrow if you want to wish to put that in hyperscalers like EKS from AWS, or AKS, or GKE, or OKE for that namesake, or IBM's Kubernetes. You can easily port that. So it goes along with all the persistent volume configuration, and the application consistent state can be ported onto any of the distribution.
All
I
right.
Is there any other question? Maybe in chat also you can put if you wish. If you're not able to go through questions section of this tool.
Guys, please put your questions right now. If you have anything in mind, just feel free to put your questions in the chat box or on the questions bar. All right. I think there are no questions. Okay. There's one which is this going to act as a firewall or any UTM?
No, it will not act as a firewall. So what we discussed is like, you will have your front line of defense that is defined by firewall and your IPS and IDSs, and then you have your policies, which is like midline of defense, which ensures that the application frameworking and the subnetting and other things that you have done is in line. This acts as a last line of defense. So let's say if given a scenario wherein some bad actor have broken in your first line of defense, got in your environment, broken in your second line of defense, and coming to the third line of defense and trying to break your backup copies as well. Like I said, if you have a very robust backup available, okay, that is not affected even by a bad actor's activity, you will not end up paying anything to him. So for a ransom guy, like I said, ransom is not easy. It's too hard, right? So for that guy to reside in your environment for 2 months or so and capturing your data and doing all these things, coming back to you saying that pay me the penalty now, and then you go back to him saying that, boss, thank you for calling, I have the best solution in the market, I can recover it from backup." So that is what we provide, okay, but not in the front line of defense and the second line of defense. We are the last line of defense. We ensure that even if a ransom guy who's got in and have done some loss to your business, how can we enable your organization to continue your business, right? So we help organization to continue their business from the copies that we protect.
All right. Thanks, Virendra. Any more questions, or do you want me to close the session?
Let's wait for a
I'll wait
minute. Yeah.
for 40 seconds and see if anyone has any questions.
And guys, don't forget to fill up your survey once this session is off, or maybe if you receive a survey link over an email, feel free to give us your feedback. That helps us to improve our upcoming webinars, so that we both get benefit out of these sessions, right? So I think, Sonia, if there are no more questions, I think we are good to close this session, and then I'll just stop uh, the broadcast.